Do. So here is ninth lit. This is the A class, and we're on page 119. This has already been recorded by other classes, but right now you can focus in on this. So look at page 118. Look at question number 37. Why a turning point in the book? Why does Virgil seem to justify Dante's anger toward the sinner? Filippo Argenti tried to grab the boat. Dante was not nice to him. He was rude to him. Virgil thrust him back in, then just seemingly inexplicably just hugs him and says, "Blessed be your mother." And what are you talking about? What's going on? And why is this a turning point? That he's rude to the sinner rather than earlier pitying the sinner? Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a denial of his own sin, and he's kind of repentant. And
Yes. That's a great answer. Argente's been judged, or will be judged by God. There's nothing you can do. That's one thing. But also, his sin represents Dante's sin. And some people have suggested that one reason he pitied Francesca and Paolo is because that was one of his own sins. You know, in his own life, he recognized that lust was an issue. Maybe here, anger is not so much an issue. So it's easier to be angry. It's easier to not pity these kinds of sins. Either way, and then on bottom of page 118, remember the apostrophe where he talks to the readers every now and then. Dante, the writer, Dante, the character, will talk to us, the reader. So we're on top of 119, I think. No, we're not. We're at the bottom. We're about halfway down. All right, so they've gotten to the gate. I'll get you. We've gotten to the gate. You can help too. And they can't get in. They can't get in the city of Dis, which surrounds the lower hell. So Virgil rather, has talked to them and told them they have to do it. They ignore him. So here comes Dante or Virgil, and you can read it. John Carter and Leah. Leaving him.
Okay, leaving him outside, so the enemy slammed the gate in my master's face, who thus turned him and came with slow steps back to me. His eyes were downcast, and his anxious brows shorn of all boldness. Sighing, he said, "What's here? Who dares forbid me the mansion's dolorous?" And then aloud to me, "Have thou no fear, thou I've been wroth. I'll win this trial of power, whatever hindrance they contrive in there."
Truculence means savagery or cruelty.
Their truculence is no new thing. Once before 'twas tried at less secret gate, wherein no bars remain forever. Above that door thou sawest the dead title, and now comes one. This side already treading the steps abyss, and guardless passing all the circles down. This shall unbar to us the gates of this.
All right, we read it Friday, but at the top of the page, Dante gets nervous. He doesn't want to sit here in hell, and he feels nervous. So he wants to go home. He says, and free. Why don't we have brought us? He talks about turning around anyway. And Virgil says, no, we can do this, but he tells us the answer at the bottom of the page. He says, now comes one, this side already treading the steep abyss, and guardless passing all the circles down. Somebody's coming. He doesn't tell us who, and they ask you, who do you think it is? Who do you think it is? Maybe I should ask the question, who is it not? I mean, the first answer would be, who's coming to help him? Dante's with him, Virgil's there. Who's going to help Dante and Virgil?
Well, would it be Beatrice?
All right, that's a good answer. It's probably going to be somebody with more authority and power than Beatrice.
So like Lady Mary?
Maybe, yeah, somebody like that. It can't be Jesus. He's not coming back until he comes back. So he's not coming back to hell a second time. He already did that once.
Sorry, did someone say an angel?
Yeah, I think it actually called him maybe a heavenly messenger. That's literally what the word angel means, is a messenger. So anyway, that's what we've left. Your guess, we'll find out. We really never know who it is, but it's clearly some divine being. So you'll turn the page. Leah's going to help us. And here's where we are. This is, in fact, if in 2 weeks we can do it, we're gonna read all the way to the Great Barrier. So everything that you see written here until the Great Barrier, we probably won't get over it, but we'll get to it. And so we won't read the 8th and 9th circles. I promise you we'll read the last canto in the book. I think would be terrible to read at least this much and not see what the outcome is. So we'll read that one, but we probably won't read anything past the 7th. So really, we've just one more circle to go, but there are 3 rings in that circle, so there are 3 parts to it. And you can see where Dante and Virgil have, they've not yet entered the city of Dis. So, Leah, you want to read, you can read the story or the text, whichever.
I can read story.
All right, who wants to read the text?
Dante, alarmed by Virgil's anxiety, tactfully inquires of him whether he really knows the way through hell, and gets a reassuring answer. The Furies appear and threaten to unloose Medusa. A noise and thunder announces the arrival of a heavenly messenger who opens the gates of Dis and rebukes the demons. When he has departed, the poets enter the city and find themselves in a great plain covered with the burning tombs of the heretics.
You know what a heretic is?
Someone who teaches heresy.
Denies Jesus.
And teaches that, right. Someone who teaches wrong doctrine, philosophy. There's another word they use here too, but those are the people that are in the burning tombs. We'll find out why later. Huck's gonna read. Okay, notice we've now entered the sin of the lion. I'm not sure how heresy is violence. It's not physical violence, it's violence toward doctrine. But
Like verbal violence, like spreading.
that makes sense. Yeah, I think I can see that. So that's where they are now from this, in the sin of the lion.
It's just weird that it's categorized under violence, because I feel like there are other vices that it kind of impersonates other than violence, but it's just interesting.
Well-
I feel like if you're spreading like mistruth, like, I don't know if it was like knowingly or not, but I feel like if you're spreading it, that can have like a really negative impact on
Yeah.
other people.
Oh, yeah.
But wouldn't that be more just like, false witness or like lying more than like?
I mean, it is lying, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like if you're a heretic, you're like speaking out to multiple groups of people, so
Yeah.
it's more than lying, like, I don't know. It depends on what you say, but I feel like if you say like one bad thing, that can impact a lot of people in a negative way on how they act to others and how they view
It's a
themselves.
good way to look at it. Yeah.
Good job,
Oh,
Lauren.
yeah, I like Hitler, yeah.
All right, here we are. Remember, they're not yet in the city of Dis, they're still waiting.
So, are this kind of Medusa?
Yes.
Okay, so like, I have a question because, I mean, this would probably be quite a long discussion, but like, how the story went, to my understanding, is that like, Medusa had gotten raped and then she came like crying to Athena, the goddess, and then Athena was mad at her for the whole thing, and so she turned her into a monster, and then like, she would just turn people into stone when she looked at them because of like.
According to Leah, not Leah, you're Leah, according to Lena, and I never heard this angle, it was also
But
kind of a
even
blessing
to
to
protect
her.
her,
Yes.
Yeah, like,
It was to protect her.
Okay.
No
because
man-
okay,
no man would
nobody was-
violate her
Because it was
anymore.
mostly to men who she
Right.
turned
That
stone,
makes
so.
sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, not
Until
yet.
her
But like,
head
why
was
is she
chopped
in hell?
I mean,
She's
yeah,
like
but
a-
like,
Percy
see,
died.
it-
Well,
it's so-
she's not in
it's
hell
so
in
clever.
mythology, right? But she is hell in this.
Why do you
Yeah, I
write
like
that?
that, I like that.
I don't know enough about it. She's not a believer, right? So that's one reason she's in hell. That's the main reason. But I don't know why. Maybe it's, I don't know. That's a good question. All right, so we also have the Furies involved here. So.
Seeing my face, and what a coward color it turned when he came back, my guide was quick to put away his own unwanted pallor. He stood and leaned intent, as who should prick his ear to hear. For far one could not see, so black the air was, and the fog so thick. Nay, somehow we must win this fight, he said. If not, the great self-preferred aid is lent. But oh, how long his coming seems to be. I saw too clearly how his first intent was cloaked by what came after. What he said was not what he designed, but different. But nonetheless, his speech increased by dread, for maybe I pieced out the broken phrase to a worse ending than was in my head. only ever descending from that place, where loss of hope remains their only woe, thread to its depth this hollow, dreary maze. I put the question, he replied, although 'tis rare that one of us should come this way, or undertake the journey I now go. Yet once before I made it, truth to say, conjured by cruel Erictho, she whose spell wont to call back the shades to their dead clay. I was not long stripped of my mortal shell, when she compelled me to pass within you wall, to fetch a spirit from Judah's circle of hell.
I look at question number 41. Dr. Carr, it'd be good if you put your phone up and turn to page 123. And all right, so look at question number 1. Who does the text say appears to be at the bottom of hell?
What do you mean?
Well, who is at the bottom of hell?
The girlfriend,
Well, what does the text say? Look at the very last line. Judas.
oh.
Yeah, so she calls this, and so Judas will be one of the people at the bottom, the lowest part of hell. Also notice Virgil looks a little worried. Dante makes Dante worried, the person you're with, like the god, whoever it is, and they start getting worried, and you're putting your entire trust in that person. That makes you a little concerned. He said, no, I'm not, I'm fine. But anyway, let's turn the page, and Carl, would you read?
Yeah.
Top of page
128, right?
124, yeah.
Okay.
They're still waiting. They're just waiting for this person to come, yeah.
I'm so sorry, what would you say 41 was?
Judas.
Sometimes
Judas.
I feel bad, or like I know I shouldn't, I should feel really bad, but sometimes I feel bad because like somebody had to be the one to betray Jesus, and then it was just like happened to be him, so.
I don't think, okay, so I know this book says he's in hell, but I feel like he's so apologetic he's not in hell right now. Like, I don't know. I just.
Well, the Bible never says he did kill himself, but that, you can have regret without being repentant.
I was gonna say.
And he took his life. That's never a good thing. That doesn't mean you lose your salvation at all, although they think so, the writers of this book, but most people said Scripture never indicates that. But that's not a good sign for him, that he took his life.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see what happens.
That is the deepest, darkest place of all, and farthest from high heavens all the main gyre. I know the way, take heart, no ill shall fall. On every side the vast and reeking mire surrounds the city of the woe begot, where now is no entering save with wrath and ire. And he went on saying, I know not what, for my whole being was drawn up with my eyes, to where the towers high battlements burned red hot. For there of a sudden I saw three shapes arise, three hellish furies sepultured all with blood. Their form and bearing were made woman-wise. Vivid green hydras girt them, and broad of aspen adders, each a living tress, ribbed round with the brows of that fell sisterhood. And knowing well those handmaids pitiless who served the queen of everlasting woe, behold, he said, the fierce Irenaeus. There on the right, Electo housed, and lo, and Io, Megara on the left, betwixt them wails. Tisiphone, and he was silent so. They beat the breasts and tore them with their nails, shrieking so loud that faint and tremulous I clutched the poet, and they were with fiercer yells, cried, fetch Medusa glared down on us, turn him to stone, why did he not requite, woe work the day, be the salt of Theseus, turn thee about, and shut thine eyelids tight, if Gorgon show her face, and thou, Theron, look once, there's no returning to the light. The scribe, the master, nor to my hand alone, would trust, but turn me himself, and urgently press my palms close and cover them with his own. O ye whose intellects keep their sanity, you mark well the doctrine shrouded over by strange verses with their mystery.
That's good. Question number 42. There's another triad on this page. Who were they? Yeah.
Is it Electo, Majera, and Tisane?
And who were they?
The Furies.
Right, and the avenging deities of mythology, so,
But yeah, like, I'm sorry. So like, you know, like the Disney one, Hercules, like his Meg and Megra or whatever, based
Was-
off that.
Megan was the girl who
She
got
was
ripped
his
in half
girlfriend.
by Hercules, right?
Yeah, because it says that they're avenging goddesses who take the form of people that haunt those who have committed great crimes. So in a way, it could be.
Oh yeah, she was with, yeah.
all right,
So
and
it's
so,
Maybe
Electo,
she's, maybe
who
it's like
else?
Says a
Says
beautiful goddess.
Tisiphone and Majera.
How do
You don't need to
say
remember their
Tiffany?
names. I won't ask you to, just call them the three Furies. And then they are so angry that, that Dante is there, because he's not dead, he doesn't belong there, that they say, call, Medusa, and I thought this was an interesting, why did we not requite, woe worth the day, the assault of Theseus? You know, didn't Theseus kill, what's her name, Medusa?
I thought it was, okay, yeah.
And then they said, we should have requited that, we should have repaid that, we should have avenged Theseus's attack on Medusa, so we'll do that now. We'll do that with Dante. I think you don't have to remember that, but I just think that's an interesting little detail, how he works that little detail of the story. And so here comes Medusa. You know what's gonna happen if Dante sees Medusa. So what does Virgil do for Medusa? He does 4 things.
Okay,
I mean, all Dante has to do, he doesn't have to run away, he doesn't have to kill her, she's already dead, he just has to not look at her. So he does,
Oh, shut the eyes.
He shuts his eyes and like, does like the hand thing, where he's like.
well, that's 2 things.
And then he
It was kind of a confusing word.
tried to fetch Medusa.
Yeah, but what does he do? There are 4 things he does. You said he tells him to close, Dante
He
closes.
turned him around.
He turned him around. He doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, so there's still one more thing.
He
Oh, press his palms.
So Dante put his hands over, Virgil puts his hands over Dante's
both
hands.
these hands.
Plus his eyes are closed, plus he's turned his back to it. So if you ever not want to see something, think of Dante. I don't want to see this, so that's 4 ways you can do it. As you leave the room, you can turn your back, you can close your eyes and put your hands over your eyes.
And just so you don't cheat, have someone else.
Yeah, right. And it reminds you a little bit of Odysseus.
But what
Is
about,
that a question or like?
No, I still want you to know that.
So what about, Virgil, the dude that was.
Well, Virgil's
Can
dead.
he be infected? I was like,
Oh.
I was
Right,
like,
Virgil's
he's
dead,
like-
so he's
Oh.
a spirit.
that's what he's in.
So that's just like,
Yeah.
He's
If
like
he's a
sacrificing
spirit, wouldn't he be
himself.
translucent or whatever, and then?
That's-
Yeah, but then we
that's
couldn't-
not-
He's like the
that's
haunted
not
mansion,
like-
yes.
Then we
that's
couldn't
like a
see them.
modern version of ghost or something.
If they didn't have spiritual bodies, then it would be really hard to tell this story. So they all seem to have physical, but spiritual bodies. They have arms and legs and heads, and they talk, but they're still spirits. So. All right, top of the page, we need somebody to read. All right, we'll go to Jaden and then over here.
Are we on 125?
Yeah, top of the page.
Then o'er that dull tide came the crash and roar of an enormous and appalling sound, so that the ground shuddered from shore to shore. A sound like the sound of a violent wind around the time of the opposing heats in the parched weather, when it swoops in the forest and leaps with a sudden bound, shattering and scattering the boughs hither and thither. Sweeper be with a tower of dust for harbinger it goes, while the wolves and herdsmen flee together. He loosened my eyes. Now look, said he, see there, yonder beyond the foam of the ancient lake, where the harsh marsh mist hangs thickest upon the air.
I love that. Underline, harsh marsh mist. Say that 5 times really fast. That's a neat thing you can do with language. You can create these tongue twisters. Anyway, keep going.
And as the frog spied the foam and snake, go squandering over the pond and dive and sit huddled in the mud, even so I saw them break apart. Whole shoals of ruined spirits, and flit scuttling from the path of one who came to us, walking the weather sticks with unwet feet. His left hand moving fanned away the gross air from his face, nor elsewise did he seem at all to find the way, is it laborious?
Laborious.
Laborious, okay. When I saw him, right well did I deem him sent from heaven, and turned me to my guide, who signed me to be still and bow to him. What scorn was in his look! He stood beside the gate and touched it with a wand. It flew open. There was no resistance, all stood wide.
So he opens the gate, how? This visitor.
With a wand?
With one, just touches it, bam, it just flies open. And then he scolds the people of hell. So listen to what he says to them.
Outcast of heaven, despicable crew, said he, his feet set on the judgeful still. What dwells this foolish insolence in you? Why kick against the pricks of the great will, whose purpose never can be overborne, and which hath oft increased your sorrow still? Or say, what boots is it at the fates to spurn? Think about how your sufferers tried it, and yet bears the marks of it on jowl and throttled tongue.
Don't you love it? He says, why do you keep doing this? You know, he says, you cannot overthrow the will of God. There's nothing you can do to stop it. And
Wait,
here it
who
is, you're trying to
stopped
stop it.
Dante or Bridget?
This is this heavenly messenger.
Oh, okay.
He tells the people of hell, quit kicking the goads. It says, where does he say that? Why kick the pricks of that great will? Another word is goads. And Jesus said that to Paul. When he was on the road to Damascus, he said, don't kick against the goads. You know, a rock, you're going to kick it all you want to, it's not going to move. You're just hurting yourself. Yeah.
It seems like it's combining like Christian religion with like mythology.
Yes. Great.
Because there's like Cerberus and
Yeah.
like fates and stuff like that.
For sure.
That's exactly right. And get used to it, because next year with Dr. Betzel, Paradise Lost is the same way. It's a story about the fall of man and the fall of Adam, the fall of Satan and Christ and Adam and Eve, and yet he weaves all this mythology into it. That's why you can read these two books, and become educated, because you can learn all these other things while you're reading it. So anyway, there it goes. They're open. They're free to get in. And did you notice the fireworks? Not literally, but you got thunder, you got wind, you got dust. All the spirits are just getting out of the way. Here, this guy, and he's walking on water all the way. And Dante notices he doesn't look like it's very hard for him either. You know, it's not at all difficult for him to do that. And he comes down there and opens the gate for them. And so, Mariah was next.
And back we went by those foul thoroughfares, and unto us said nothing, but appeared like one much pressed with weightier affairs than the cares of those before him. So we stirred our footsteps citywards, with hearts reposed, safely protected by the heavenly word. Through the great war we entered unopposed, and I, being all along to learn what state of things these huge defences were enclosed, gazed round. The moment I had passed the gate, and saw a plain stretched spacious on both sides, filled with ill woes and torments desolate. For as at Arles, where soft and slow Rome slides, or as at Pola, near Cornaro's bay, what fences Italy with its washing tides. The ground is all uneven with the array on every hand of countless
Sepulchres or tombs.
To there, but in a far more bitter way. For strewn among the tombs, tall flames flared fierce, heating them so white hot as never burned iron in the forge of any artificers. The grave slabs all were thrown back and upturned, and from within came forth such fearful cry. 'Twas plain that here sad tortured spirits moaned. Oh, sir, I said, who are the people lying in the grim coffers, whose sharp pains disclose their presence to the ear by air side side? And he, the great heresiarchs, with all those of every sect, their followers, and much more, the tombs lie laden than thou wouldst suppose. Here like is laid, and their flames roar, more and less hot within the fair monuments. Then we moved onward, and right-handed bore, between those fires and the high battlements.
All right, so it gives you a clue. The gates open, they're walking in. It gives you a clue as to what they are. They're the heresiarchs, which are heretics. I don't know if it says so here. They're all in tombs or sepulchres or coffins burning. And we'll find out. Maybe you can use your imagination to figure out why heresy is punished that way. Remember, every punishment reflects the sin. So like the angry people are fighting, because that's what they did in this world. The angry people that hold it in, they're suffocating. The people that like materialism, the hoarders and spenders, they're having to push around boulders that represent materialism. So why would heretics be in burning coffins and tombs?
Is it oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Hope.
Okay. Is it because, and I may be wrong, but the punishment for heresy was being like burned at the stake?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good, fires associated with that. That's very good. You have they're in tombs though. What would that record suggest?
Well, I think, aren't heresies like telling the false
Yes,
truth?
teaching it.
So I think it's kind of like, I don't know, if it has to do with the people that they told, like, all these false beliefs to, maybe?
Yes.
That, like, it's kind of like burning a hole in other people's lives by telling all these false truths to other people.
Well, somebody mentioned something very similar. They said people that tell these false truths, heretics, are usually telling people a way to get to heaven or some sort of form of heaven, you know, like the Epicureans, you know, the purpose of life, that's the meaning of life, and they're saying it's pleasure, which won't get you into heaven. So yes, not only the heretics being burned, but the people that are believing it, they're going to be burned too, because they're going to believe the wrong thing. That's good, yeah.
I guess you know like why they're in like the anger one first, like the for sure reason why they're in like the circle of anger.
No, no, but this is a different circle now.
Wait, so which circle?
This is now circle 6. That was circle 5.
So we're not in the anger. I thought
Well-
all of these were like ones where they had like some anger.
That was the river. That was the river of Styx. Now they've gone through the door of Dis, and now they're in a different circle, and these are in the coffins and
Okay, so this is just
right. Yeah.
Well, the part where it talks about like their coffins being upturned and like they're crying out, I guess it's like, you know, like their voices had like a negative impact, on earth, so like now they're crying, and it like affected other people, but like now no one's really there to listen to them or like help them, I guess.
Good.
Listen to like what they have to say.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Yeah.
Maybe it's, okay, this is kind of like inward, so maybe it's because they send other people to hell, and you know, like fired and.
Yes. Yeah. That's
So-
you mentioned that too. Both are right. Yeah. They themselves are being burned. That's what they used to do to heretics. But also the people that believed them, they're now suffering the same torment that they're getting.
So maybe they're like the epitome of like, oh, this is hell, burning is burning, and not being people who just suffering forever, that's hell, so maybe.
Yes. Yeah, what do you think?
Well, we have to know, actually, this is kind of just like a question about the test. We have to know like everybody's separate punishments for like their sins.
Yes, if you think of it, this is the 6th circle. If you add, what do you call it, what's the first one called? What?
Rings?
Yeah, but what is the first, but even before that, what do we call that? That's the, no, I'm sorry.
The gate, the unified, the cave that leads.
But they're being blown around,
Oh.
now they're running around in circles.
No, no.
Less, or,
No, isn't it like a giant lake and they're all
The
just-
vestibule.
Yeah.
The first one is called the vestibule.
Oh.
That's not a ring, that's not a circle, it has its own name. So if you add that, we've had 7 sins. Remember, this is the 6th one, but then that vestibule is the 7th one. So yes, the answer to your question is, so far 7 sins, then you're gonna add 3 more for the violence. So that's 10 altogether. There'll be 10 sins. Who's in there, how are they being punished, what is their sin and all that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are we gonna get a,
Review.
review game, like?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, I'll give it to you Thursday. I turned the page, we don't have a lot of time, but maybe we can just, Zach, read the story anyway. This is more on the 6th, we get stuck here. Dante and Virgil the story slows down. In fact, in the next canto, they even stop and wait. So there's several, I think 3 different cantos deal with this section of hell.
As the poets are passing along beneath the city walls, Dante is hailed by
Farinata.
Farinata from one of the burning tombs and goes to speak to him. Their conversation is interrupted by
Cavalcante.
Cavalcante.
Cavalcanti.
a Cavalcanti with a question about his son. Veronata prophesies Dante's exile and explains how the souls in hell know nothing of the present, though they can remember the past and dimly foresee the future.
All right, I'll just read. Thus, onward still, following a hidden track between the city's ramparts and the fire, my master goes, and I go at his back. O sovereign power, that through the impious gyres, said I, dost wheel me as dost deemest well. Speak to me, satisfy my keen desires. Those that find here their fiery burial, may they be seen, for nothing seems concealed. The lids are raised, and none stand sentinels. He noticed that all the tombs and the coffins are burning, they're open, but he hasn't seen anybody yet. And then Virgil says, all these shall be shut fast and sealed when from Jehoshaphat they come anew, bringing their bodies now left far afield. That's a reference to the last judgment. I don't know why Jehoshaphat is mentioned, but and hereabout lies buried close in view Epicure and his followers, they who hold that when the body dies, the soul dies too. That's heresy.
Wait, isn't also Epicurus, the philosopher who said like everything in moderation and stuff? Like,
What? No, well, I don't know about that, because he said that human happiness is the end of and purpose of life.
Wait, was this like the one, like when the head of, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, like the hedonistic view, like?
Yeah, it's very similar to that. Hedonism and Epicureanism.
That makes the country make like more sense now, because also like if you think their soul dies when they die, then they wouldn't experience any kind of suffering
Right.
when they die,
Yeah.
and now they're experiencing like a
That's a really good point. That's a heresy, though. I bet you a lot of people that you'll meet in your life believe that when you die, you just cease to exist. There's no punishment.
I have a friend who's like that, well, it's my dad's friend, but like, she believes that she doesn't believe in anything. So I think she either like just looks for the
Wait, so they call, so the heretics, like in our mind, not to you, like.
That's sad to think about.
Yeah, because they
Okay, see, I was thinking they were extremely, I mean, they are, that's.
both. Other people fit in that category.
We just don't consider it.
Yeah, is it interesting?
Christians would call it.
Here, I'll show you, it'll be funnier than that later.
What understanding?
Okay. So he takes that like
We are.
Wait, by yourself?
I think we're gonna start. Yeah,